Getting our children home from Haiti was unusual. Our children came home after the earthquake. And so there was actually a very small group of adults that brought a very large number of children out of the country, and then we met them in Miami. And so the children had just been through a lot in that last few weeks, and they had to be processed through government refugee process, paperwork, and just chaos for those first few days in country. But the things that you take for granted that you get used to because you are in a developed nation where air conditioning. Nathan had never been in a situation where there was cold air blowing on him ever. He didn't, when we first came home, even though it was the middle of winter here, he'd never had to sleep with a blanket at all. And so that was a hard transition for him. Just dealing with an airplane and people, the stewardess that wants you to sit still while they're taking off, and why should I have to do that? That doesn't seem to fit with what he's used to, because he's never had to be in a situation where a seat belt, right? Car seats. The very first time we put him in a car seat, he thought we were trying to hurt him. It was horrifying for him.
I do remember the car seat. I tried to put Colin in a car seat, and he would first, his arms were just really stiff, and then he's looking at me like, "What are you doing?
Why would you do this to me?"
And we came home, in the beginning of February, and we were at the airport coming from Miami, where it was still warm, to here where it was, winter. And I tried to put a coat on him, and he was like, "You are just crazy. Take me back." And now it's one of my favorite memories. But at the time I was just like, "Oh, what are we doing?" So the coat was a big deal. And the airplane ride, from Miami to home, he slept through most of it, but he obviously was awake when the plane was taking off, and his eyes would just get big. And you just have to, hold him a little bit closer, because, it's okay. It's going to be okay. But then he just, now he loves airplanes. So
wants to go.
Yeah, right.
I remember with the three of them, getting them on the first escalator was an adventure, because you had to take them, and they're trying to figure out at what point they step, and so you had to hold each one of their hands and put them on individually, and then you have to get off. So, luckily my husband was there with me, but I'd kind of thought about that beforehand, but I didn't think of the elevator. Not as scary getting on, but I didn't even think about it. And we get in, the door's shut. To them, the box moves around a little bit, and then the doors open. And I'm not thinking anything, and they thought a magic trick had just taken place, because the door opens and they're in a different spot, and they all just started laughing, and they thought it was hysterical. And then I was prepared for this, but we knew we had to spend the night and before flying all the way home, and so they all wet the bed, and it was in the hotel. So and they're all older, so it's not like I could put diapers on them. So we had prepared, and we had brought a bunch of sheet protector stuff, because I was afraid they would
that would happen.
That would happen, and we did bring extra clothes.
Yeah,
absolutely necessary. They also found the bathrooms in the airports to be like a water park.
Well, and the toilets that auto flush,
right?
Yeah,
it can be frightening.
Oh, he was terrified.
Yeah, scared terrified.
Yeah. When you mentioned elevators, I remember when we got to Miami, we stayed in Miami for a few days, and the very first time that we had the two boys on the elevator, the last time the ground had moved for them, it was an earthquake, and it was terrifying. He didn't think it was funny. He was very, very concerned, and it took a while to calm him down after that, because that whole, you don't realize how much it does move, because you just take those things for granted.
It's hard to know what things are going to frighten them that you might not think of. With our Mia, we adopted from Bulgaria, I thought she's just going to love this warm little bath with all these toys, and she was terrified. I mean, that complete panic, like crawling up your body, terrified. And I found out later, in that particular orphanage, they basically hosed the kids down to clean them.
Never sat.
And water is a very frightening thing for, I'm sure a lot of times it was cold. And also dogs. We have the most gentle, I mean, he's like a log. He's not going to jump up, just the most gentle. And again, that panic, that's not just I'm kind of afraid, it's complete panic. And I thought, well, we've got to give this dog away, even though my other three loved their dog, but I thought I can't have her terrified like this. again in Bulgaria, I'm not sure what experience she had. She was 3 when we got her, but they do have packs of wild dogs. But those were a couple things I didn't think of. And actually she ended up, I was about to give the dog away, and now she loves that dog. I mean, she is, they are best friends. But, just to be aware of what things are frightening to them and really ease them in and not expect them to understand normal situations.
We had that same experience with a dog where I knew that dogs were scary in Haiti, but I'd forgotten. And we got home really, really early in the morning, so I wasn't thinking about it. And I'd set Colin down, he was 2. And the dog had been by himself, for 3 days while I'd been in Miami. So he came racing around the corner because he was excited. And he jumped up on Colin, and he just was terrified, just screamed, jumped into my arms. And I thought, oh, that was not a good mommy moment. but you're right. And I mean, it took a good 3 weeks. We worked up to it where they couldn't be in the same room, and the dog would peek his head around the corner and Colin would just scream. And then like the next week they could be in the same room as long as the dog didn't look at him. And he would know when that dog was looking at him. And then one day, just like you, one day he was just sitting on the couch and the dog was laying on the couch. They could be that close. And Colin just kind of tiptoed over to him and then just went, and then ran back to me and like, look, I did it. I touched a dog. And just, now they were just best buddies after that. So
I remember our adoption coordinator used to always tell us to remember that the country that you're bringing them to, it doesn't smell the same. It doesn't sound the same. There's not one thing about America that is the same as Haiti. We're on the same hemisphere and we're not that far apart, but the whole adventure is different.